now open the hearing on House Bill 3113, sponsored by Representative Kelley. Please begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Ann Kelley, District 127. That's Barton, Dade, Cedar, and Jasper counties. So I appreciate the opportunity to present House Bill 3113. It is a vital piece of legislation designed to address the escalating crisis of fentanyl poisoning in Missouri. This bill represents a comprehensive approach to combating the devastating impact of fentanyl on our communities, families, and youth. Fentanyl is an opioid that is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine, making it exceedingly easy to overdose on. Even a tiny amount can be lethal. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention reports the synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl, accounted for nearly 70% of all opioid overdose deaths in 2021. Say that 10 times straight. In Missouri, the statistics are staggering. Deaths due to fentanyl have increased by over 300% in recent years, with thousands of lives lost to the silent killer. Every number represents a person, a son, a daughter, a friend who can have been saved. House Bill 3113 proposes several critical measures, including this bill mandates that all public buildings maintain a supply of naloxone, the life-saving medication that can reverse an opioid overdose, by placing naloxone in easily accessible locations and informing the public of its presence can greatly increase the chances of saving lives in emergencies. Designating October as Fentanyl Poisoning Awareness Month will promote education and awareness about the dangers of fentanyl and help foster community discussions on prevention and response strategies. House Bill 3113 requires school districts to implement educational programs specifically focused on fentanyl use and poisoning for students in grades 6 through 12. Equipping our youth with the knowledge to recognize the signs of fentanyl exposure and overdose is crucial in preventing future tragedies. This bill also emphasizes the need for law enforcement agencies and engage in training programs that can improve their response to drug-related incidents, ensuring that every drug-related death is thoroughly investigated. The urgency of this legislation cannot be overstated. Each day that we delay action is another day that lives are at risk. By enacting House Bill 3113, we're not just passing a law. We're taking a stand against a public health crisis that threatens our families and communities. Today, I urge you to support this bill. Let us come together to protect the most vulnerable among us and take meaningful steps to combat the fentanyl epidemic.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank
Do we
you.
have any questions? Representative Washmore?
To inquire.
Please
Or,
proceed.
I guess to comment. Thank you, lady, for bringing this forward. This is incredibly crucial medication that needs to be easily and readily available to everyone who needs it. And right now, almost everyone needs it. I always make sure I have one in my car. It's always near me. Fortunately, my husband used to work in Washington County, and he always made sure he had it, and he came back for more. I'll just put it that way. It was always needed. I do want to thank everyone involved in this. Especially, I would be remiss to speak on this subject and not mention the great work that Kevin Fitzgerald is doing in St. Louis. He's a wonderful man who has built, out of his own pocket, generated his own money, builds them, distributes himself. If you're familiar with little libraries that just pop up around communities, he has built those for Narcan, as well as foodstuffs and diapers, etc. But the big thing is Narcan. And so he's putting those around town in parks, in communal. Some people have allowed them in their homes, on their personal property. He's doing the Lord's work. So I want to make sure that he is acknowledged. And just to be extra obnoxious, can everyone please point to the nearest AED? Guys, we practiced this. The closest one right now is across from the elevators, right outside the cafeteria, for future reference. Thank you.
To inquire.
Please proceed.
Actually, to comment. Thank you for bringing this forward. I recognize several people in the audience. The one that really sticks out is to make sure that any drug-related death is investigated. I know that there's somebody here that has been through not so much a good time trying to find out. And I also know some other people that are here that have been warriors in this, and I applaud them, and thank you.
Representative Wolfen,
Thank you, Madam Chair. To inquire.
please proceed.
Thank you, Madam, for presenting the bill. One quick question, at least for now. What constitutes a public building? Is it just any kind of government-owned building, or are we talking private businesses as well?
So does it say in the bill?
It does. I don't see a definition for public building inside this statute, unless I missed it. If so, my apologies.
I'm
But
guessing there's a definition somewhere else that's not here, but we can definitely look into that.
okay, if you wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it. And that's the only question I have right now. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Smith,
To inquire.
please proceed.
Thank you for your work on this. It is, again, as the ranking member stated, very important. I do have a question about the educational program.
Yes.
I always think there, what are we doing about places that no longer have a DARE program or funding for it? Are we saying that this needs to be part of a particular course, like health class, or what?
So in my mind, it would be part of that DARE program, but if it's not, if they don't have DARE, so I'm not familiar with how many schools have DARE. I have not done that research. I don't know if there's somebody in the audience that can address that, but we can most definitely work with that, but it'd just be like any other trainings that education facilities would have to do. They would have to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be under the local control on how they would do that.
Have you identified any sources for financing this particular endeavor?
So I
see
hear,
somebody
I see
shaking
not.
their head.
I wish I could take the credit for this bill, but it is truly, when you're at events and you see constituents and constituents reach out, almost 95% of all the bills I filed are constituent-based bills. And so the constituent that has really pushed for this is here today to answer any of those hard questions.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Hales.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the previous question. I had the same question, looked it up on the definition, and I'm sure you will check, but section 8.830 is the definition of a public building, so it's only governmental buildings, as I understand it.
Thank you, Representative Hales. I also looked up DARE from my own experience. At least in my area, I believe that goes to 5th grade, but your bill calls for
6th
6th
through
grade.
12.
I have always thought that DARE was maybe too soon and it needed to be further into the grades. Just to give you that information, maybe if you did want to focus on DARE, I think that's a bigger conversation. Perhaps just finding out how to make it part of the health requirement. But if you can lock that down, because I think you will have that question, fully support it. And I would like to see education, and I don't want to see the education go to 5th grade because, again, I thought the DARE program is too young to be effective as well. Any further questions? Thank you very much for bringing this bill forward.
Thank you.
Can we have the first person here in favor? Please come forward. I remember seeing you at a bill that I presented, and thank you for being so willing to come forward on such a hard topic for you and your family.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. My name is Laura Woody. I'm on the board of directors of Lost Voices of Fentanyl, a national nonprofit organization with 47,000 members nationwide. I've spent the past 4 years fighting this crisis nationally, and finally the federal government is doing something to stop the slaughtering of Americans on U.S. soil. Now I'm trying to encourage state and local governments to follow the federal government's lead and become equally aggressive in stopping this poison that is killing our families, our kids. My son, Jimmy Woody, died on Halloween 2021, and he wasn't a child, but he was my child. And Narcan may not have saved him. He was alone, but it should be in every first aid kit, every building, every classroom, every home, any place there's a fire extinguisher. And what, as far as the definition of a public building, my opinion is it should be everywhere. Everyone should have it. I know people who keep it in their diaper bag. You know, I guarantee probably at least 3 people in the audience have some on them at this moment in their purse or whatever. We have it in our cars. But we also know how important this is. Anything can happen anytime. And I really want to thank Ann Kelley for this. When we met at the Black Walnut Festival, another warrior from St. Louis, we spoke with her and Brad Pollitt about what we've seen, about our kids, the deaths all over America, things that I understand you people aren't always aware of what's going on out there. And they listened. They really listened. They were making eye contact. They were hearing us, and they cared. And that meant so much. And they wanted to come back and do something about it. And I appreciate that, too. And I appreciate all of you being willing to do something about it. 10,000 Missourians have lost their lives from drug poisonings just in the past 5 years. This is a crisis. 500,000 Americans have died from illicit fentanyl poisoning. It's now the #1 cause of death in Americans ages 18 to 49, and the fastest growing demographic is ages 14 and under. At the last hearing, when I was here, I explained, in 2023, 43 children under the age of 5 died from fentanyl poisoning right here in Missouri. They weren't drug addicts. This is no longer limited to the substance use community. I've talked to daycare centers and explained to the parents, even if you yourself don't use illicit substances, that doesn't mean your child won't come in contact with it. We've seen baggies on shelves, on a candy shelf at a child's height in a convenience store. Kids pick things up, they touch things. We actually have a children's safety card that I put in the elementary schools in my county, explaining, if you do touch fentanyl, don't use hand sanitizer. Wash your hands with soap and water. And I've had moms come up and say, I didn't know that. I'm so glad you told me that. Because we just want to protect everyone, and we want everyone to be safe. I get a lot of resistance, not my child. I'm a good parent, so that won't happen to my child. But it does. And every day I talk to hundreds of parents who regret having said that. I talked to parents who had never heard of fentanyl until they saw it on a toxicology report. We can't bring our kids back. We're trying to save others. With the education, there are lots of organizations that will do in-school training. DARE is outdated. It doesn't really impress upon kids the dangers. The message used to be, if you do drugs, you might get addicted and your life might go downhill. No, if you take a quarter of a pill that someone says came from a medicine cabinet, you might die. That's what they need to know. This is serious. They need to be getting the real message of the dangers. I know lots of different organizations. Some are age appropriate all the way down to kindergarten, educating them. This bill was somewhat followed after what Texas has done. Governor Abbott signed a bill very, very similar to this. They have a program where the curriculum is like $30,000 per district. That's not necessary. There are organizations like Fentanyl Fathers that will go to, they're nonprofits, they're funded with grants, and they will travel and go to schools. My recommendation for funding for this is opioid settlement money. One of the things I hear a lot, I hear people all the time say, no, funding cuts. Every state has received billions of dollars in opioid settlement money, and prevention is one of the primary uses of it. We should be using it to fund these curriculums and educate kids before they ever take that first pill. And the journey now from first-time experimentation at, say, 13 or 14 to being 29 and suffering from addiction and seeking treatment and recovery, it's like trying to walk across a landmine field. Many will not survive that journey. We can't only treat this as an addiction problem and wait until they get there to try to help them. Prevention is something we really need to work. And all of this encourages communities to come together. law enforcement, health departments, educators, parent organizations. I know lots of those. We have them all over the state of Missouri. And by the way, people have traveled from all over Missouri to support this because we've all lost one or more. And I know Kristina's not going to testify, but she's got Breathe for Bree in Bates County, and she is putting Narcan everywhere and doing a great job. In my school district, they have all three. We live in a small town, and the high school, middle school, and elementary school are all right together on the same block. They have Narcan in the nurse's office, which is in the middle building closest to the elementary building. If someone is unresponsive in the high school band room at the opposite end of that building, the amount of time it takes to get to the nurse's office and back could be a difference between life and death. Every second counts when the brain is being deprived of oxygen. And even if they are revived, it makes a difference between an anoxic or hypoxic brain injury. Getting their heart beating again doesn't necessarily mean they're ever going to wake up if the brain has been deprived of oxygen too long. There's no reason for it not to be everywhere. And that is already funded through the Missouri Institute of Mental Health. Anyone can get Narcan anytime. Oh, there
Thank you.
were questions I was going to answer. I don't remember what they were.
Thank you for your heartfelt testimony. Do we have any questions from the committee? Representative Gallick.
Comment. Thank you. I did fentanyl forums a couple of years ago, and I met many of you. And when I came back, I thought, okay, what can I do? And we tried to do some bills, but every time I would do it, I would talk to law enforcement, and there were some kind of issues that wouldn't work because there was unintended consequences. So thank you for this. I do know my counties also have opioid money, and I have asked several times, and I think that is an excellent suggestion. I'm assuming that all counties have it, but I know that the counties have to apply for it. So I would encourage everyone to go back and to make sure that your counties have applied for the opioid settlement money. So thank you.
If I
Any
may-
further questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Please proceed.
The part here at the end where it refers to drug death investigations, and I know this has in some cases been a controversial issue, but all this is asking is that they be investigated. It's not saying charge them, prosecute them, or what degree. It's just saying they need to be investigated, because I promise you, there are hundreds of thousands of bereaved parents just like me, frustrated that their child's death was just written off as an accident. And we know who's responsible. We know who supplied the poison for them. Just investigate it. Just look into it, investigate it, and also the requirement that they attend training, because Dayna Blanar and I attended the DEA's Operation OD Justice training in Lebanon, and I invited every law enforcement department in a tri-county area to attend this free training, and they didn't attend. They need to be trained, and there is currently post-certified training for how to investigate these drug deaths, and they need to be required to take it. Thank you.
The next person in favor? Please proceed when you're ready.
Okay, I'm a little bit more nervous than Laura, so.
It's okay.
please
We're
bear
all
with
here
me.
to listen, and we're very interested in your story.
My name is Dayna Blanar. I'm a wife, a mother, and a grandmother, raising 2 grandkids now. And I'm also the founder of Missouri and Kansas Families Affected by Fentanyl Poisoning. I'm also a federal civilian employee, and my husband's a retired military police officer. I have family members in law enforcement, so I understand the weight and pressure of the work of our law
Ma'am?
enforcement.
Your testimony is just really important. Will you see if your mic is bright green? It may be turned off.
It is.
Okay.
Is that better?
That's so much better. Thank
Do
you.
I need to start over?
No, you do not.
Okay. I'm here today because my son, Zachary, he died of fentanyl poisoning after he unknowingly ingested marijuana laced with fentanyl. Zachary is not a statistic. He's my son. He was a father and a young man who was rebuilding his life. He had a job, and he loved everyone. And he shared his faith with God everywhere that he went with anybody who would listen. He'd tell people he was going to be a pastor. When my son died, I should have been able to grieve instead of becoming an investigator. No mother should ever have to feel the need to request or view a forensic photographs of her child in a morgue just to understand what happened to them. But I did. And those images still haunt me today. But they also opened my eyes to how easily critical questions can go unanswered when drug-related deaths are not treated with seriousness that they deserve. I was also later told by law enforcement that my son's case had fallen through the cracks. That was devastating to hear, and I should have never had to hear that. His case should have been investigated. That is why Bill HB3113 is important, and it matters. It recognizes fentanyl poisoning for what it is. It's a public safety crisis, not a personal failure. And by requiring naloxone in public buildings, it provides immediate life-saving access, just as we already do with AEDs. By establishing Fentanyl Poisoning Awareness Month, it ensures education and prevention are not left solely to grieving families, but that we are supported statewide. Like I said, I'm raising grandkids now. I've adopted one of them. They're both Zachary's children. I had adopted her before he passed away. And at a parents-teachers conference, I learned that she had been bringing fentanyl awareness bracelets to school. She was only 8. She was giving them to her teacher and taking them to talking to her classmates about fentanyl. I know we think that maybe 5th grade is too young, but I don't think so. This isn't just in drugs. They're finding them in gummies. Somebody could think they're taking a Tylenol, and it's going to be in that Tylenol. It could just be on a baggie. Kids need to know you don't share things in school as young as 8 years old or younger. But her teacher had told me that she had never heard anything about fentanyl until then. It took an 8-year-old child who was grieving her father to make an adult aware and curious enough to research it. She is a very strong young lady. She saw me crying one day because I miss my son. And she said, "Mama," I'll never forget these words she said to me. "Mama, it's okay. God had to take Zachary so we would know about fentanyl and we could teach other people about it." She shouldn't have to carry that kind of understanding, but she does. And this is why education matters. She matters. Most importantly, families like mine, HB 3113 requires that every drug-related death be fully investigated and treated as a homicide crime scene. Whether or not charges are immediately filed, that provision is about preserving evidence, seeking truth, and ensuring that no parent is left wondering if their child's life mattered enough to be taken seriously. Everyone's life should be taken seriously. This bill does not attack law enforcement. It supports them. It does not criminalize the victims. It honors them. Proverbs 31:8-9 tells us to speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. Today I'm speaking for my son Zachary and for all the Missouri families who should be grieving and not investigating their child's death. I respectfully urge you to support House Bill 3113. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry for your loss. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone here in opposition? Thank goodness we don't have to give anyone dirty looks. Do we have anyone else here in favor? Please proceed when you're ready and make sure you're close enough to the microphone too.
Oh, please forgive me. It's very emotional to hear my warrior parents on behalf of their experiences and to reflect on mine. I am here in support of House Bill 3113. My name is Shannon Thomas. My daughter's name was Gabrielle Smith Thomas. I'm here in honor and to speak for her, to be her voice, but to also be that person to speak for others, to save others' lives. My daughter would have been out there saving other people's lives. This is my first time doing this, so please forgive me if I stutter. I just want to express what it's like to be a family that loses somebody to a fentanyl poisoning. I think it's important to consider the things that families go through when you're considering this bill, because I would really like to focus on this being looked at as like a homicide crime scene. Not that you would, it's the way that you would go about it. I think all drug deaths need to be looked at in that way. Our daughter was given an illicit Percocet pill, and it was pure fentanyl. She didn't know what it was. She had just turned 27 and was just off of our insurance. 18 months prior, she'd had a rollover accident. She was with her church out helping other people get off the streets. That was the kind of person she was. She was bringing people to God. She was helping people get off the streets. And she ended up getting a pill that she didn't know what it was. She thought it was a Percocet. She was in a lot of pain, still healing from that rollover accident, a broken hip, broken collarbone, pubic bone, wrist. It just goes on, and did not want to wait in the emergency room for help. And so her boyfriend at the time knew somebody that had a pill that he could get her that was a Percocet pill, but it did not clearly turn out to be that. It took her life in under 8 minutes, from what we understand. This really does take the innocent and the most vulnerable among us. Just like Dayna and Laura were stating about the young children and people that you would least expect die from this are dying. Young children, babies, people that are respectable, and people also that have addiction issues. Gabrielle was writing a book at the end of her life, and she was asking people how they got through addiction. And the words that were in her journal towards the end was that she wanted to help people find value in their souls and bring them to understand who they are. She wanted a family, she wanted children, and none of that happened. Her case was not properly investigated. And as a parent, we don't expect that our children are going to die before us. No one plans for that. We don't pick up insurance to plan for our children's deaths. Excuse me. This is very hard on the families who lose their babies to a poisoning. Whether they're 27 years old or 2 or 1. No one plans for this. It affects everyone. And I think it's really, really important that these deaths are investigated properly. Our daughter's was not investigated properly. There was a witness there, her boyfriend, who gave all the information that he could at the time, and they never questioned him ever again. They put us off for 3 months and closed the case on us, and called it an accident. It was not properly investigated. Our daughter was active in school. She was the 8th grade class president. She was on the yearbook committee. She played lots of sports. She was a servant. She went to nursing school. She was a great person in community. And today, she may have even been in this room sitting where you're at, because this is the kind of person she was. And these are the kinds of people that we're losing. We're losing these people. They're the most vulnerable among us. Gabby would have carried Narcan. She would have taught other people about Narcan. She would have taught other people about drug poisoning. That's the kind of person that she was. I would like to see, as a parent, Narcan everywhere, because we don't know where these things are taking place. It's been in the news. Children in parks touching surfaces. People in Airbnbs, babies touching surfaces. I would like to see education programs in schools, because just like these ladies were saying, these kids don't know. They don't know what is out there, and what is out there on purpose to kill us, to kill them, to take them out. This is on purpose. Not only do we lose the most vulnerable among us, but our families suffer. And I cannot tell you how many families I've seen parents commit suicide and children fall to the same cracks and take something. They don't think it's going to happen to them. Many parents have lost children twice. Many parents have lost children 3 times. In our family, we have a child with cerebral palsy and a child with autism, high-functioning autism. It has been hell for us trying to deal with those things on top of those kids. It has held them back, and I think this situation has also caused us to be at risk as well for a second death. The reason why I say that is because children with autism reach out for things. Sometimes they will drink, sometimes they will try drugs to ease the pain. So we are very much in support of all of the things that are proposed here, and I am just very grateful that you're here and that you're listening to our testimony today. And I really hope that we can put something together to save other children, and not just children, but people, adults. We need to have prevention. Prevention is key. I know for a fact that my daughter would be here today had she had that type of education outside of the home.
Ma'am, can I ask you, the chair, can I ask you a question about that? Earlier today, in the testimony, I said that 5th grade was maybe too young.
Yes.
But education is a very big point that you're trying to stress to us.
Yes.
Do you think we should look at a broader age group than 6 through 12?
Absolutely. Yes, I do.
Did you have any other statements? Are you ready for any questions from the committee?
Yes, I will take some
Okay.
questions, yes.
Representative Gallick?
Thank you for your testimony. You said that they didn't ask you anything, or not ask you, but the boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
They just shut the case. Did they not ask him where he got the pill?
They asked him once where he got the pill, but they did not allow him to specify. They didn't follow up.
Well, and that's the issue.
It is the issue.
Because that's who we need to go after, is the people that are doing this.
You're right. You're right. And when I tried to push the issue with them, they told me that the laws were not in place to do that.
Really? Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everybody.
Thank you.
But I'm sorry you had to endure that.
Thank you.
Thank you for such a great question, too. Representative Walshmore.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your testimony today. I'll tell you, as someone who lost a sibling suddenly, the hardest part of losing a sibling is watching your parents lose a child. So I am so sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for having the courage to be here today.
Thank you.
As we've mentioned, we've kind of been talking about, I think, one of the roots of the issues that we need to talk about is like with DARE, like you mentioned, like 5th grade. I don't think 5th grade is too young. I say go younger.
I agree.
My son is 4. I tell him all the time, you don't take medicine unless Dad or I give it to you. You don't touch pill bottles. You don't touch. We have those conversations all the time. And, you know, I don't think he's too young for that. He needs to understand that medicine can be dangerous and you only take it when, you know, Dad and I give it to you.
Agree.
And those kind of conversations, and to the chairwoman's point, you know, it's as was mentioned, it's outdated. I mean, it's, you know, we do this one program in 5th grade that tells you, you know, not to take unknown substances from the shady man in the alley. You know, that's, you know, it hasn't been updated since 92 or whatever. So it just needs to be updated, and it needs to be reinforced. You know, we can't just have the program in 5th grade and wipe our hands and be like, well, we did that. Solve drug addiction, way to go. So I think that's part of it. And also, as you mentioned, your daughter was seeking help.
Yes.
She was in pain, and she wasn't looking to do anything drastic. And so we need to look at our healthcare and the fact that so much of this, as you mentioned, is self-medicating because our healthcare system is so atrocious. And that's what we really need to look at, is that people need help. And if not, they're going to go and find it, especially with pain, they're going to go and they're going to find whatever they can get their hands on. And until we address the issue of health care and making that accessible, affordable, and reliable, all this other stuff is secondary. we address the root cause. So thank you so much for those points, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I just want to say one more thing. Is that okay? To your point, that drug dealers have other children peddling drugs to other children. And I want to make that very clear. So they trust their friends. So this is a very scary thing, and people need to understand how serious this really is.
I'm going to throw out a point. My family had an accidental poisoning, and luckily the child survived. But this was probably, 15 or more years ago. And that's when I found out Mr. Yuck. I don't know if any of you remember that. But we used to have Mr. Yuck. I think that went to the wayside, and it would talk about poisoning. And I could see this even be enrolled into a poisoning class. So thank you for really stressing the education, because you guys are right. I know that the contact is a concern, but we don't hear about it as much as we hear about the war on fentanyl. So just having that conversation, I think, is very valuable. Do we have any further questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you very
And
much
I'm so
for
sorry
hearing
for
me.
your loss.
Thank you.
Next person here. Please proceed when you're ready. Just make sure your mic's on.
Thank you, Representative Walsh-Moore, for your comments. My name is Rion Thomas, and I'm here in support of House Bill 3113. You mentioned something about the root cause of health care. The problem is sometimes we go beyond what we're talking about today into some root cause about the healthcare system. Yes, it led to my daughter's death, and yes, I can actually blame my insurance company for several things. But the reality is that the root cause is different for every single person as to why they use drugs, and whether it's just taking it, as you said, because she's self-medicating, but this issue is huge, and it's beyond the issues we have in our healthcare system. It's tied to it for sure. I'm in favor of the Narcan to be distributed in all of the public buildings, and what I think is really important about that is, yes, the enforcement of it, but then also to reduce or hopefully someday remove the stigma that's attached to people that need Narcan. And it's kind of sad when sometimes you have to convince somebody that grandma could over-medicate on accident, and she took the dose twice, so okay, I'm in now. But my kid would never touch that. And like my wife, Shannon Thomas, said, that people, the best we can do is the best we can do with our children. But oftentimes, they'll hear it from someone else and they'll believe it when I talk to them 10 or 15 times about the same thing. And she said they trust their peers. They literally will trust their peers that it's just a pill. It's just this, it's just that, and everyone does it. And so this education program, I think, is so important. And I believe this is how it says in Section 161506, Section 36. It talks about the development of education programs on fentanyl use and poisoning students in grades 6 through 12. I agree with you that it could go younger. I would also urge that the development is the key here, that we can't no longer put a post in the ground and say that's good enough. We can't continue to say a banner does it. Look, they'll see it once in a while if they go to that game. We need educators to stand behind this. We need them to be on board. And it's interesting how they get serious when somebody they know dies. But until then, it's somebody else's problem. It only happens to those people on the streets we avoid when we're walking downtown. It could be, but it could also be your child. It could be your neighbor. It could be your best friend's child. It could be anybody. It does not. I mean, if you think about the stretch of fentanyl poisonings, there's no demographic it has not touched. So it will continue to touch every single demographic. And we have to really look at the education piece of this. My daughter, she was terrific in high school. She turned 18 in August before her senior year. So it was right about when she started her senior year. We always thought that our oldest daughter, that was going to be a huge advantage. At 18, she said, I can move out. I've got these friends over here that they do fun stuff. We had no idea that she had been using some drugs that were just, like kids' Adderall, crushed up. We didn't even know anything about it. And when she died of fentanyl poisoning, we had never heard of fentanyl. And we know she had not heard of fentanyl either, because we'd had many conversations with her. But the reality is had there been some sort of an education program, because I was friends with her counselor to the degree where I was annoying, and even though she moved out of my house, I was always calling, please do a well check on my daughter, please check, because she stopped doing sports, and she was a great athlete, and the fact is she just stopped doing these things that she normally did. And she wasn't doing these things that she always dreamed of doing, and especially at her senior year when it was supposed to be so good. And so had that counselor had a program, had that other, teacher who noticed, had the coach who was really good friends with her, and all of her buddies on the team noticed the difference. And they dared to say, Gabby, there's this program. You just need to check it out. And if we don't teach these kids to remove the stigma, to talk about it and be okay, to go home and tell mom and dad, hey, there's this program, there's this assembly that you should go to. We have friends that we've met, unfortunately, through the same program of people standing up these nonprofits and going in and educating schools, and they always do a parent night the day before they do the assembly during school. You'd be amazed at how they have empty auditoriums all the time. And these parents, the same thing, they're sitting at home and it's not going to affect them. It never happened. My child doesn't make those kind of decisions. We don't know. And we think that we got the leg up and they trust us. Man, these kids, they got us rolled over, man. They have us doing all kinds of things for them, just like our animals. Look at what you do for your dogs and your cats before you do anything for yourself. We do everything we can for our children, but we can't protect them like the education system probably can. I mean, there has to be a program where, she can turn to. And the law enforcement has to work with the schools. So this mandatory training for law enforcement, it's huge. Because there's typically a police officer that's designated to every school. And if you get that police officer involved who's buddies with all the kids and they're like high-fiving and they're talking and you know what, this is a serious subject. You need to listen. And I saw you hanging out with that guy. You can't be hanging out with him. And you need to bring him over here and I can educate him on what he shouldn't be doing too. And if we're not afraid to talk about it, we're not afraid to get this in school, then think about the children that won't die. And we're talking about kids, but man, it's not just kids. It's babies, it's infants. And you get it in households, you get the education, it's going to stick, and they're going to make their parents wake up. We need it in schools. We need this program. And we need to help these parents understand the things that I didn't know. And they need to be aware of the dangers. And thank you.
Representative Smith?
Thank you for coming forward, and thank you for your very passionate testimony. It takes a lot to wake people up, and I'm trying to visualize a program, and I just have a question, and help me think this through as my mind is working. There is a teen moms class that, if you become a teen mom, you qualify for it. Are you thinking with this program that if you've been recognized by maybe a family member, that this would be something that people would get referred to if you've been exposed to fentanyl or I would call it just drug use? Do you see this program being something that's within the school, and because you've been identified as this person, you would go to this particular class?
I think, Representative Smith, that would be an ideal that there was a program that went beyond the education piece. But I think that there at least has to be a program within the school where a child can go to a counselor and have a safe place to talk. And then there has to be the education through assemblies and through programs within the school where it's mandatory that there's just like they do. I mean, you mentioned too early. What about sex education? When is that too early? I mean, that most likely won't kill a kid, but drug education, that's important. So as early as they start and the type of programs they have parallel to other initiatives, why not stand one up? But at least an education program where, if not annually, semi-annually, beginning of the year, end of the year, where you get in front of the students and you educate parents. Can I just share a quick scene with you and tell you how it works as far as investigations go?
Sure.
So when my daughter died, it was at 3 a.m., and they confiscated a lot of cash. His dad had died. The only reason why my daughter was with him is because his dad had died. So otherwise, she was getting rid of this guy. And he was just trying to save his life. And he got her this Percocet that was just pure fentanyl. There was a ton of cash. There was pills. There was marijuana. And there was heroin. There was plenty of drugs to do a proper investigation. Plenty of cause. And if it wasn't him, he admitted that he bought them from a dealer earlier that day. And to have questioned him one time, and unfortunately, they find out that she had used drugs previously, so she was an addict. He was clearly an addict. It just got dismissed. And as parents, we're grieving, we're calling the detective, and we're asking all the time, any progress? They can't tell us anything. And you think something's going to happen right up to the point where they say, it's been dismissed. And then you find out that he never got questioned again. They never even sought to investigate the source of the pills. And even though it was deemed an accident on her autopsy initially, because it was just, the story lined up and the levels were just absurdly high. I mean, she just probably died so quickly. But the reality is that there has to be an investigation. When people die, you can't discount them for an addict or any other reason. Why not do an investigation as if it's a homicide? Because most likely somebody up the stream knew there was fentanyl in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Any further testimony?
I am very nervous. My name is Lillie Compton. In 2022, I lost two grandchildren, Katie Kennedy, 25, and Sean Dewey, 25, 6 months apart. They were poisoned by fentanyl, and I call it poison because they did not know what they were taking. That is why I feel it should be investigated as a homicide, because if you give somebody poison and you kill them, you're going to jail for homicide. I also believe that the early education is a must. Our children are being poisoned daily. We are losing thousands of our youth, from toddlers to adolescents. We must educate these youths before they are going out into society where they don't have parental guidance, so they will choose to make better choices. My granddaughter Katie, a month before she passed away, talking to you, she went to a rehab. She spent 1 hour there. She was sent home because she did not have insurance nor the money. My granddaughter was an active meth user. She did not buy fentanyl. She did not plan on dying that day. My grandson had nothing in his system but fentanyl. He legally had sleep medicine from his doctor. His ADHD made him miss his doctor's appointment. He asked his friend for something to sleep with. There was nothing else in his system. He had enough fentanyl to kill 4 people. Behind you sits a committee of parents that are fighting fentanyl poisoning on the streets. I go in the streets myself every week, and I pass out sometimes 100 Narcans. I live in a small rural town. There's no Narcan available in my town. The next biggest town to me is Lebanon, Missouri. There's one dispensary. It's in the police department. I don't know of any drug addict that's going to go into the police department. That's why I feel that it should be in every building, Narcan available for anybody that chooses it. When you talk about the education part, my great-grandson is 5 years old. He knows you don't take stuff from people, even people you know, because Uncle Sean was poisoned. A bad person, we don't tell him it's fentanyl, because he wouldn't comprehend that. But we tell him they gave him something bad, it was poison, and Uncle Sean died from it. And he's 5. So I believe younger education is appropriate. And that's why I push this stuff to all of us. We're a committee. We work together every day to do this. And it's really not our job to make sure everybody has Narcan or is educated, because we can't reach everybody. But the school system, this is where I feel it should be, in the school system, in the grade schools. Don't take candy from your friends. Don't trust your friends as parents either, But that's about all I got to say, and I appreciate you guys listening to us, and I hope you take to heart our losses. I hope our losses brings better to the system, Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for testifying. Any questions from the committee?
Don't ask me.
Okay. You did a beautiful job. Thank you.
How y'all doing? My name's Chuck Carroll, and I'm for Bill HB3113. I lost a niece in June of 24. I lost a nephew. January 3rd last year, and I lost a grandson March 22nd of last year to fentanyl poisoning. And none of them have been investigated. The kid that sold my nephew was supposed to be cocaine. He thought he was getting cocaine. He got fentanyl. It was a pure fentanyl. The cop at the house, he said that it appears to be cocaine, but it was obviously fentanyl, And so I got a granddaughter. She just turned 20. And Narcan saved her 3 times. Thank God she's still here and she's still struggling. She's still struggling. I'm with her every day. I talk to her constantly. And she inherited $250,000 December 29th of 24. And her money was gone before March. And she... This drug, these people, and there's nothing you can do about it. The money came out of her bank and it's gone, but that's not what we're here for. But the thing is this stuff has got to be stopped. People have to stop. They got to quit thinking that it's okay to sell drugs. It's okay. I didn't know I was selling fentanyl. Well, if you sold the drugs, you knew there was. If you thought it was okay to sell the drug. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've done a lot of things. I went to prison for it. And if I would have ever sold a grain of anything that had something that would kill somebody, I would have never sold it again. So I don't understand the mentality of somebody that could sell something. They know that this stuff is killing people. They know very well that this stuff is absolutely. It's not maybe will it kill you. It's absolute. It's absolute death, I think death sentences. I think death sentences don't give no time. Don't pay for them to live for 40 years in prison. But I believe in this bill. I wish it would happen. I hope it happens. I pray to God it happens. I hope they start making these people hold them accountable. Hold them accountable. I was held accountable. I believe they should be held accountable. Respect, responsibility, accountability. That's what you got to be in this world. You got to have them 3 things. You got to be respectful, you got to be responsible, and you got to be accountable. If you don't have them, that's what I preach to my grandkids and my kids. the rah, the roar, the R, whatever you want to put it. I preach it to them, and that's what they get. And when I say R to one of them, they say, okay, Grandpa, we got it. Accountability, responsibility, respect. They get it. You know, now they slowly get it. But that's it. I believe in this bill, and I think the police should have more power because I'm not a real fan of the police, and anybody that knows me knows I'm not, because they don't. The Constitution is there for a reason. A lot of them don't know it, but I think they need the power to do it, and that's all I got. That's all I got.
Thank you very much for your passion. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here in favor? Thank you. Please proceed when you're ready.
My name is Catron. I'm from St. Joseph, Missouri. My daughter was Kelly Catron. She was 24 years old. She finished high school, didn't want to get a job yet, but wanted to just go find her place in the world. She came back pregnant and had first found out that she was doing drugs. She went through lots of times. She was ADHD and bipolar. And a lot of the medicines that they put you on for that make you constantly sleep. She hated that. She would sleep through everything, miss everything. So I think the alternative to that was, you know, getting into meth and heroin and stuff like that. We saw her June 14th of 2002 at Oceans of Fun in Kansas City. She saw her two sons, who were 16 months and 4 at the time. She said that she had met some friends and was going to Iowa to start a job. One of the people owned the jobs there. All I know, I hadn't heard anything from her by October, and she had called October 11th and said that she woke up in Chicago, Illinois. Don't know how she got there. Didn't know anybody. I had her 2 kids, 7 hours away from where I live. I worked 2 jobs, had no way to get there to help her in any way. She said that she was trying to find her way back, and I was like, and I'll try to find my way there. Didn't ever hear from her again. On October 25th, 2022, they found her in the basement on a mattress with a hot shot behind her ear. It was a mixture of drugs, and fentanyl was one of them. There was no investigation. The police report was exactly 4 sentences long, and the only way that I found out about it, because she was a missing person from Missouri for 90 days, is TikTok. She was bruised from her head down to her toes. All of her hair had been cut off, and even the Detective McDermott from Cook County, they said that he lied to me about where the address was, and no Narcan was given. They didn't know how long she had been dead. They didn't talk to the one person that was still there when they got there that had called 911. Nothing was ever done. And in our county, Buchanan County, the only place that you can get Narcan is at the Division of Family Services, where it's behind a glass partition thing at the front desk, and you have to ask for it. And that's the only place that I have a trunk full, and my whole bedroom is full, and people know to message me in our county because I will take it to wherever it needs to go, but that's the only place we have it accessible right now.
Thank you for doing that service for your community. Do we have any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Do we have any further testimony? Seeing no further testimony, that now concludes the hearing on House Bill 3113. Oh, I'm sorry, just procedural. Do we have anyone here for informational purposes? Anyone else here in opposition? Thank you. This now concludes House Bill 3313.
Thank you all for listening to us. Thank you for coming and staying late.
Representative Washburn.
Did you adjourn?